posing threats to national security are promptly removed. Laka said the use of social media platforms by terrorist groups had led to the takedown of numerous accounts. He also explained that while the platforms are businesses seeking to grow their user base, government agencies consistently engage them on the dangers certain posts pose to national security. He recalled how bandits previously used TikTok to openly display looted items and even live stream their activities, a practice he said has now been largely curtailed. A civil society group has raised the alarm over an alleged coordinated plan to arrest and detain leading opposition figures, including former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, the immediate past governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, former Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola, former Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amaechi, amongst others. The group alleged that the move forms a part of a broader strategy to weaken opposition politics and entrench a de facto one-party state in Nigeria. In a statement released yesterday by its coordinator, Adekunle Adebayo, the group alleged that Atiku Abubakar, Amaechi and El-Rufai have been marked for arrest. He noted that the arrests are linked to a covert multi-agency security directive allegedly coordinated from the Office of the National Security Advisor and executed through a task force involving anti-corruption, intelligence and financial crime agencies. The group alleged that the strategy involves selective arrests and prolonged detentions without charge, coercion of politically exposed persons to defect to the ruling party, disruption of lawful opposition meetings, engineered factionalization within opposition parties, and the use of prolonged litigation to exhaust opposition resources. The group described the reported plan to arrest El-Rufai as especially revealing, noting that his administration has already been subjected to extensive investigation for over 2 years without any established evidence of personal wrongdoing, despite sustained scrutiny. Now, the federal government has instituted new money laundering charges against former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, and his son, Abubakar Abdulaziz Malami, over alleged financial transactions exceeding 1 billion naira. The 16-count charge filed before the Federal High Court in Abuja lists the Federal Republic of Nigeria as the complainant, with Hajia Bashir Ashabi named as co-defendant. According to court document, the defendants are accused of handling, transferring, and concealing funds suspected to be proceeds of unlawful activities. Investigators allegedly traced a total of 1.014 billion naira to a bank account linked to the transactions. The prosecution claims the funds were laundered through corporate entities, including Metropolitan Auto Tech Limited, which was allegedly used as a front to obscure the source and movement of the money. It is further alleged that between 2015 and 2025, several properties in Abuja, Kano, and Kebbi State were acquired with illicit funds. The properties reportedly include luxury homes in high-end areas such as Maitama, Asokoro, Gwarimpa, and Jabi, with some transactions said to have occurred while Malami was in office as the Attorney General. One of the counts alleged that between July 2022 and June 2025, the defendants procured Metropolitan Auto Tech Limited to conceal the unlawful origin of over 1.014 billion naira, an offense said to contravene the Money Laundering Prevention and the Prohibition Act 2022. The charge sheet also outlines the alleged use of bank accounts, hotel businesses, and real estate firms to retain, move, or disguise large sums of money, including payment for hotels, plazas, duplexes, and landed properties. Prosecutors argue that the defendants reasonably ought to have known the funds were derived from illegal activities. Malami served as Nigeria's Attorney General from 2015 to 2023 under former President Muhammadu Buhari and faced repeated corruption allegations during his tenure, which he consistently denied. You are currently listening to the World News at 12, right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. I'm now being joined by Mr. Lawal Ekundayo, a political and public affairs analyst. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Ekundayo, and thank you for joining us today.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
Compliments of the season, Mr. Ekundayo. How are you doing today?
Yeah, not bad.
All right, let's get right into the issues. This is one that many Nigerians are asking, okay, those people, how did they come about this information? The group that is alleging that there is a plot to arrest Atiku Abubakar, Rotimi Amaechi, other key opposition figures. That is basically to weaken the opposition in order for Nigeria to become a one-party state. Recall that this is an allegation that has been made against the APC countless times, and they've come out to debunk it that it is not true. If governors are going to the APC, it is because they want to. Now, the platform of the group is called I'm going to try my best to read this. Bi abakpa itomo itoakpawa, which is supposed to translate, when truth is suppressed, it eventually destroys those who suppress it. They claim that Issa Pantami, Kashim Imam, other prominent figures are being targeted, and this is supposedly to follow earlier arrests and detentions of Aminu Tambuwal, Abubakar Malami, and Chris Ngige. Now Malami is being accused of misappropriation, like, okay, these funds were gotten illicitly, were gotten illegally, right? Chris Ngige is also being accused of whatever has to do with, basically money laundering, misappropriation of funds and all of that. Would you say there's some iota of truth to this, or these people are just mischief makers who are trying to set Nigerians against the ruling party?
I think there's an iota of truth in it. So it's an allegation, but there's an iota of truth. We've seen cases like that many times, in which somebody will come up with something like that. If eventually, the ruling party will do it eventually. But there's an iota of truth in it. But it's not this arrest that is the major problem. It's the fact that why is it coming up now? If truly all these people have done all this, why didn't you do it from the beginning? Why is it now that when they are now speaking against the ruling party, that is when cases like this are now coming up, in which they are being arrested here and there? That means they must have seen it before. But it's just a way of, I don't think, maybe to keep them quiet, or to suppress them, or to make them dance to their own tune. So there's an iota of truth in it. That's what I have to say.
But why would you believe there's an iota of truth in it, though, if there is nothing to actually prove? Because for everyone who has had a case with the EFCC so far, or has had to go to court, like Chris Ngige, it was a shocker for many Nigerians when we heard that, he has a case with the EFCC, and this has to do with misappropriation of funds. The same thing is going for Malami, even though he continues to claim that it is a political witch hunt. Some have said that he has political ambitions to become the governor of Kebbi State, right? This is someone who worked with the APC administration of Muhammadu Buhari. Why would he pose a threat to this APC administration?
Because you can see that this coalition, many of them are coming into the coalition, and many of them have worked with APC, and so they know many of their ways and the way they do their things. So they may have one or two secrets they can divulge to the opposition. That's why maybe they are trying to use it to keep rein them in, to keep them from getting into the opposition. Just like somebody said that when you defer to APC, your sins are forgiven. So they try to make you realize you have sins, and then if you now divert to them, your sins are forgiven. So I think that is what is going on, because this is 2 years plus into the administration. So why is it now coming up that they are picking them, like picking Malami, Ngige? I'm not saying it's wrong to pick them. I'm not saying it's wrong. I know what Malami did throughout the tenure of Buhari. You know what he did. Now that this administration is picking him, so we know it's not saint. But the thing is this: why are they doing it now? They could have done it from the beginning, the first year, begin to probe those that needs to be probed. But now they are probing them when the opposition is gaining ground. So that's what I see about that.
All right. Now, there are other allegations that's been made by this group, saying there is a strategy of selective arrest, which is what we're talking about now, prolonged detention without charges, coercion of politically exposed person that they should defect to the ruling party, disrupting lawful opposition meetings, which is one thing we've seen with the ADC recently, the attack on Malami, the attack on the Gbadebo Road Survivor when he was trying to defect from the Labour Party to the ADC in Lagos, the attack on when ADC was doing their meeting in Kaduna State. I think it was in Osun State as well that the ADC was also attacked,
Yes.
So there is that. They're also talking about engineered factionalization that is causing problems within parties. Of course, Seyi Makinde told us yesterday that Wike decided on his own to go and promise President Tinubu that he will hold down the PDP for him. That is without provocation. Nobody asked him to promise that to the president, but he did. You know that some people have been accusing the ruling party of being behind the factionalization and the crisis between parties like the PDP, like the Labour Party, and even the ADC, where some people are saying, look, we do not go with the David Mark leadership. Aren't there other subtle ways that the ruling party can actually disrupt opposition parties without resorting to illicit arrests and others, like these people are alleging?
No, so they are using so many, all the available options that they have. That's what the ruling party is using. They are using all the available options that they have. They are not leaving any option, so they do whatever they feel like they can do to disrupt the others so that they can remain. Because one thing is this: if you are popular, your popularity is overwhelming. Of course, you don't need it to fear anything. You simply scale through. But when you are not so popular, begin to look at people who can actually contend with you, and then you begin to find a way to bring them to create divisions. Now, some people will say that is not true, that it is because the parties, the opposition, are not putting their house in order. But look at what is happening with INEC. Look at what is happening with judiciary. When they go to where the judiciary needs to come in and then make a pronouncement to resolve everything, you see the way they make different pronouncements from different courts. You see INEC itself not being clear. They will not be able to say when they need to speak, so that the division can deepen very well before eventually they speak. So all those things are what people now say, to affirm that truly it is the ruling party that is doing it. Because if the judiciary is able to do what they're supposed to do, where they need to come out and speak, or maybe the people, one or two factions go to court and then the proper pronouncements are made, then everything settles. But you look at that, you now begin to see different judgments. INEC itself will attend this one, attend that, and they keep quiet, and so many things. That's why people fingered the ruling party. And you see what happened with Accord. Accord has always been very peaceful, but the moment the governor of Osun State cross over to Accord.
Okay, the party started getting factionalized.
Immediately.
But Accord has not been a very popular party. So even if they were having internal problems, how would we know about it?
It's not that it's not popular now. It's popular now. It may not be as popular as those ones that have won the presidential election, but they were popular, or they are popular. They won House of Assembly through Lagos State here. I remember Kako and some other areas. So, and if they have been an internal crisis, we'll have been hearing about it, because a party that has won many, has been in the trend for a little while since Ladoja's case. So it's been on, just like any other party, like ADC, like SDP, like AEC. It's popular.
So basically, once a party or an opposition figure starts to pose a threat, whatever party is in power tries to see how they can bring trouble in their midst so that they do not pose a problem to the ruling party. So would you say the PDP did that when they were in power? Did we see that with the PDP?
That
trying to put, let's say, fire in the houses of other opposition parties so that they will not pose a threat to them as the ruling party as at that time?
I will not completely exonerate PDP, but what I would say is that their own is so mild that it is not really a major problem. Every party were striving. I didn't hear that any party was deregistered during the PDP era, but during the APC era, parties were deregistered. I remember SCP, National Conscience Party of Ghana, Ifeanyi was deregistered during the time of former President Muhammadu Buhari. Why? They said because they have not won any political post. What has that got to do with party? So they were deregistered. So you can see it was during the APC time. So APC have always have that tactics to be able to see any party that is can give them any big issue. They try to knock them off. So they see PDP as a very powerful contendant, against them. And then that's why you see all this thing going on here and there. And then any other party, it's happened in ADC. It happened even when the opposition tried to move to SDP. We suddenly had a crisis in SDP, and then in ADC we had it, and then in Accord. So even it happened in AAC too. There was a time there was a factional chairman in AAC. They had to go to court, fight before every day. So we see it very prominent in the time of APC now. compared to
what would you say the opposition parties and opposition figures need to do differently in order to ensure that their house is in order, and if there really is a plan to factionalize and balkanize these parties, that it doesn't work?
See, that's why they call the court justice. They say law and justice. Justice means for just to be just, to be fair, to all parties. But when you don't have that fairness, there is always bound to be a problem. When there is a faction in a party and then you go to court, it is the duty of the court to look at it and then be fair to all. But you to add that here in Nigeria, you now see the court making different pronouncements or making here and there that will create, deepen the problem. You remember the one in which the one in Labour, that INEC will not even come out and tell them, even when they wrote to INEC about the Supreme Court judgment, INEC kept quiet for a very, very, very long time, giving the faction opportunity to continue their crisis. It happened in ages. It happened so many. So you see that it becomes difficult, more difficult, because the umpires, the judiciary, INEC, that's supposed to be the umpire, seems to be allegedly tilted towards anything that favors the ruling party. So you see that it's difficult for the opposition to actually have a good footing because of the umpires.
So to help themselves is either they go to the judiciary or they have no other hope.
No, it's not that they don't have hope. I'm just saying that it's not that they can't go to judiciary, but they know that when you get to judiciary is slightly tilted to what favors the ruling party. So if one of the functions is in the good book of the ruling party, the judiciary tends to tilt towards that side. Even INEC tends to tilt toward that. So you see, it's a big ordeal for them. It's not that they cannot achieve it, but it's a bigger hurdle for them. But they don't have to give up.
Do you think that's what's happening right now to the PDP?
Yes, it's happening to them.
INEC refusing to recognize the Turaki-led leadership.
Yes, it's because when two people are fighting, they have an argument and they go to court, one of them must win. Two of them cannot win. One must be right, one must be wrong. So at this point, who is right, who is wrong? You should be able to tell us based on the facts and evidences on ground, and then everything is settled. But so that you have a lot of prolongment, they prolong it in such a so that the crisis can deepen very, very well. So many people will start losing confidence, and that is what is happening before anything will now come up eventually.
All right, let's take a look at insecurity in the country and what the federal government is doing to curb it. The federal government, through the Director General of the National Counter-Terrorism Center, has said that they are working with Facebook, with TikTok, with Instagram, with Snapchat, with Twitter, now called X, to remove the social media account of terrorists. We've seen them going live, showing off their guns, showing off ransom money, and even doing giveaway. And, some political analysts have said, look, if you close down these accounts, they would just open another one, that this doesn't actually curb insecurity. And the federal government is also saying that they want to reduce or curb propaganda. But then many Nigerians are saying the more these people go live, the more they post on social media, it brings to the front of our mind the fact that they are there, they are alive, and they are thriving, and we can get to do something about it. That if you scrub them off the internet, the federal government can now control the narrative to say, oh, we've taken care of them. But meanwhile, they still continue to be there somewhere.
It's like you want to you want to stop the maybe the phone, the line. You want to bar the line of a terrorist. Does that stop them? It doesn't prove anything. It doesn't do anything. You only want to do is a waste of time, because eventually you will just use another line, just like that. So if the government shut down the account of the terrorists, simple, they will just simply open another one, or they will use another account. They can even go direct. It doesn't stop anything. What the social media is doing is far more to safeguard Nigerians than whatever any other person can say, because with social media you can easily transmit an information, or a scene that is going on at the moment, you can easily transmit it to people, which people will be able to avoid this. Even security operation can even make use of it. For example, this social media, it has to do with data in communication. Now, when they post it, it's coming from somewhere. It's easy for the government to trace it.
Is it really easy for them to trace it? Because recently we were told that, they don't use the normal kind of, they don't use our MTN, Glo, that they connect to one kind of satellite that is, there was a way they explained that. Nigerians were looking at it and saying, what are you talking about? If you say that, they don't use the normal one that we use, now you want to scrub their social media account off the internet. How exactly are you going to do that? How does it correlate? How does it work?
See, is the government telling us that the terrorists have their own special satellite? Even if they have their special satellite, the world will know, because there's no satellite you have in space that cannot be detected, because it's a communication device. So it will communicate. So it's easy to detect because it's communicating from somewhere. So all this one the government is saying is just an excuse. It's an excuse. The way communication works from base station to base station, even if you are using direct to satellite, they will get you, because it's a communication. It's a device. Any other device can pick it, even if that person cannot decipher the information you are passing, but he knows that there's a communication that is coming from certain area. So there's no how the government cannot detect anybody who is communicating. If the government can go extra mile to go to Kenya to pick somebody they want to pick and bring it back to Nigeria, then that's another person's country. How come the one we have in Nigeria, you are now telling us that it's not possible? They are using one kind of communication, they are using another communication. I don't believe that. They need to be proactive with this their fight. If they are truly sincere, these terrorists, they are easy to catch, to get. We are not the first person with this issue. There was a time it was in America. There was a time Britain had their own terrorists. So we have it it happens in Russia. Israel had their own. So many, they cut across. Even Saudi Arabia, there was a time terrorists were in Saudi Arabia. So how were they able to clean their system, their country? Was it not because they were proactive? They wanted it out of their country, and then they were able to clean it. So in Nigeria here, there's no excuse that government can give up, because government has all the resources to do it. They have all the resources to do it. Communication satellite in space is built by certain companies and is operated by certain companies. The device that receive it is made by certain companies, is operated. So there's no how that somebody can use a communication that you cannot get. That's why all countries have their own spies across. No matter what goes on around, many of these spies, they are aware of every information communication you do. They are aware, they keep it. So there's no excuse at all. What we want is a result. We are not listening to excuses from the government. What we want is a result. Any other thing they say that is outside positive result is something we are not interested in.
All right, then let's quickly look at this issue with the Adamawa State Governor granting pardon to Sunday Jackson. That's the farmer who was attacked in his farm by a herdsman. They got into an altercation, and then he said the herdsman hurt him, but he was able to kill the herdsman that came to attack him. He was sentenced to death. Many Nigerians rallied around and said this is not supposed to happen. In fact, when the whole talk of the alleged Christian genocide in Nigeria came up, it was one of the conditions that this U.S. representative Riley Moore gave to the Nigerian government, saying, if you want our help, if you want us to come together, if you want us to collaborate and take out these terrorists, you have to release Sunday Jackson. The Adamawa State Governor has finally granted him pardon. And of course, Riley Moore is rejoicing for this and is telling the Nigerian government, you need to do more to show that you're not on the side of these terrorists. What's your take on that?
Yes, it makes sense. It makes sense, because I don't see the law against self-defense. This man said that the Fulani herdsmen attacked him with the knife that he used he collected the knife and used it to defend himself. Maybe during struggle, the knife killed the herdsman. But the knife belongs to the herdsman. The knife actually belongs to the herdsman, and the herdsman used the knife against him to hurt him, and then he was sentenced. And where is it done? Where is it done? That's why the government had no choice except to do the right thing, and the right thing is to give the young man state pardon. They had to give him state pardon. In fact, it's even embarrassing that it is state pardon that is given to somebody like that. It's supposed to be in court, in which the court will free him.
Doesn't that also make us question why he should have been sentenced to death in the first place? Do we say the judiciary should be questioned on what kind of laws? Because there is a place for self-defense in the Nigerian constitution. Someone is trying to hurt you, you ended up hurting them first. I mean, should he have been allowed to go, maybe serve some sentence? Because he's been in prison for over a decade, and it was until he was sentenced to death that Nigerians heard about it. So would you say he's been suffering for something he knew nothing about? And also, would you say that shows that the people who thought him worthy of being sentenced to death are on the side of those that were trying to attack him?
Yes, that's what it shows. That is why the government had to give state pardon. Because normally such a case supposed to go back to court and be reviewed again. I think it got to Supreme Court. I think it got to Supreme Court. That's why they said, how can something like this go to Supreme Court with all the evidences, and it's going to make such a judgment in which somebody, the same knife that the headsman, the guy didn't bring his own knife, he didn't use his own knife, it was the same knife that the headsman used to hurt him and try to kill him, that he fought with the headsman, and eventually the knife killed that same headsman that owned the knife, and then he was found guilty. So you can see the truth. That's why it's a welcome thing that eventually he is giving a state pardon, but normally he's supposed not to have been convicted in the first place.
All right, then we need to go because of our time. Mr. Lawale Kundayo, I do thank you so much for being a part of the World News at 12 this afternoon. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and again, compliments of the season.
Thank you very much.
All right, you have been listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. Just before we wrap up, let's take a look at the top stories again. You heard that a U.S. lawmaker, Riley Moore, has made fresh demands as Adamawa Governor pardoned Sunday Jackson. 24 passengers rescued as troops for kidnapping attempt on Otukbo, Enugu Road. Federal government orders removal of terrorist social media account, and group alleges plot to arrest Atiku, Amaechi, and key opposition figures. That is a wrap on the World News at 12 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. My name is Chioma Innocent. Good afternoon to you, and thank you for listening. Please stay tuned for matters from 1 p.m.